Welcome to Pints and Politics. I'm your host, Dan Parsons. As you know, Pints and Politics is an event-driven, multi-faceted exchange of ideas between thought leaders in our community, and we do it all with the added benefit of enjoying a craft cocktail or a delicious Nebraska craft beer. So welcome. We've missed you. We've missed being able to talk about the issues of the day and enjoy a craft beer. And so welcome back. We hope you enjoy this segment. I'm really excited about tonight's episode because we have three guests, not just one guest, not just two guests. We have three guests. And so let me just tick those off and introduce our guests. Joining us tonight is the mayor of Norfolk, Josh Moning. And Josh, we've known each other a while.
Yeah.
In fact, if I really want to embarrass you.
And he's going to.
Yes, right off the bat. I actually knew you when you were in undergrad here at the University of Nebraska.
Yeah, it's been that long. So sorry about that.
But you've gone on to do some pretty incredible things.
Well, incredible might be used loosely, but I do appreciate the invitation. I've been waiting for so long to get on this show. I know that maybe I've arrived, that if I had been asked. So yeah, we appreciate that.
So this is what it takes.
Yeah.
It just takes an invitation and a craft beer, and you're here. But you've done some really wonderful things in your career. You worked for Congressman Jeff Fortenberry. You're head of a project that you're trying to build a highway system in northeast Nebraska. So talk a little bit about those things and how you came to be mayor of Norfolk.
Sure, just briefly. Yeah, I'm at the end of my first term as mayor of Norfolk. And I'll start with that, having a little bit of experience in both the state government and the federal government, because right out of school, out of journalism school at UNL, I took a job in the legislature and was a legislative aide for then Senator Mike Foley.
Right.
Then I worked for a number of years for Congressman Jeff Fortenberry as his communications director and district director. And then moved back home. I'm from northeast Nebraska originally, from Battle Creek, moved to Norfolk where my folks are, and got involved in local politics, ran for the city council and then for mayor. And what I found is I really enjoy local government because you can actually see stuff get done once in a while and have an impact. And so that's really been gratifying. And we're doing some things in Norfolk that are different, are unique, and I think that's what cities in Nebraska have to do right now for purposes of retaining youth and attracting newcomers. And so, yeah, we can talk about some of those specific projects, but one near and dear to my heart is redevelopment of the North Fork riverfront, and that's at the heart of our downtown, and we really have an opportunity to create natural amenity-based community development, and we're just at the start of that project, and it's really encouraging to see it come together.
That's so exciting. And so a little more context, agriculture background in your family, and you have a small beef operation.
Yeah, my family raises natural beef. We raise Piedmontese breed cattle, so heritage breed, all natural, no growth hormones or antibiotics. My dad was a large animal veterinarian, and this was kind of his retirement project. Bought a few Piedmontese cows. It's turned into something more than a hobby business, and so especially now in this moment where people are interested in where their food comes from and how it's produced, it's fun to be a part of an operation like that, and we seek to expand that and grow that. And I think that also has a lot of community development and community growth opportunities in Nebraska as well, because if we can control the means of production and keep that money in our communities, that helps everyone.
That's very cool. Well, welcome. Glad that you're here. Looking forward to hearing about what's going on in Norfolk, and you're up for re-election. You're running for re-election, your second term.
Yep, up for re-election, unopposed at this point. So that makes things a little bit
Kind of a big deal.
less stressful. So
That's good.
yeah.
Well, it shows good leadership.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
Or else nobody else is dumb enough to want the job. One or the other.
Well, welcome. And let me introduce David Levy. David is an attorney and lobbyist with Baird Home Law Firm. David has a rich background in government and law, of course, and a recognized leader in Nebraska for clean energy and wind energy and solar energy. And you've kind of written the book on getting Nebraska up to speed when it comes to wind and solar legislation and being able to open up our state for incredible opportunities. So welcome, David.
Thank you, Dan. No, I appreciate that. And you're right. I started sort of in local government as a city planner and saw these developments.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but in a little larger community than Lincoln.
A little different, San Francisco. Yes, I worked for the city and county of San Francisco, starting when I was an undergraduate. I won't say the year; it was a while ago. But hearing the mayor talk about local government, I couldn't agree more. It's always been, a great place to work and try and make things happen. And came to Nebraska, back to Nebraska. I'm a native of Lincoln. In 2006, and really just one of those things, kind of right place at the right time. The first company that was ultimately able to develop a privately developed utility scale wind energy facility in Nebraska was a client of ours through a referral, and at some level a wind energy project, solar, whatever it might be, is a large, complex land use project in a very highly regulated industry. And coming from working in Northern California, I was used to complex and controversy and highly regulated, and so really fell right into it. And it was a great time in Nebraska because that was something that was new, and we have an incredible resource here. Many people know that we're one of the top 5, top 3 states for our wind resource, but we're a top 10 solar resource state as well. And it's been really fun. From 2008 until 2015, 16, 17, it was kind of all wind. And now solar has really come on, and battery storage. This also developed into lobbying at the legislature on those and other topics. And last year in 2019, we had our first committee hearing on battery storage. I remember the first one about wind.
Because that is really the next stage.
That is the next stage, and that will really... People call it a game changer. I hate to continue to use the phrase, but it is.
Yeah.
It takes a non-dispatchable resource and makes it a dispatchable resource. It works great non-dispatchable, but it works better when you can turn it on and off. But Nebraska has seen great growth in those areas. It's great property tax relief. I always say the truest form of property tax relief is growing the base. I haven't been around, I've been around a while, but not forever. And I haven't seen a multi-billion-dollar brand new property tax paying industry coming to Nebraska other than renewable energy.
Yeah, that doesn't happen every day.
It doesn't. And there are lots of other benefits to it as well, but you focus on the economics alone, and it's a great opportunity. It's been a great opportunity for me personally, and I'll stop here for a minute anyway, but just to say, the one thing that almost excites me most about doing this is when my teenage kids look at me and they say, "Dad, who would be opposed to your wind projects?" And I say, well, kids, they're not my wind projects, unfortunately, but also it's more complicated than that, of course. But the next generation sees it, and it's a tremendous opportunity for Nebraska, and I feel really lucky to work in this area. We've had some good success, some great success. We have some great challenges ahead as well, and we'll keep going. And thank you for this opportunity.
Well, thank you. You're certainly a leader, a recognized leader in this industry, and creating this industry, helping create this industry in Nebraska. And we've worked together, and so it's fun. And now you can tell your kids you've been on a podcast.
I know, right? I didn't even know what one was 6 months ago. So
it's a big deal.
Yeah. And let me welcome back to Pints and Politics, Vanessa
Second timer.
Silk. Man,
Yeah.
For those who are following along in your playlist, if you scroll back to episode 22, you'll see Vanessa and a room full of 300 people that we were celebrating the Craft Beer Summit.
Yes.
But I'm sorry, Vanessa Silk, also a lobbyist and attorney with Baird Home Law Firm in Omaha, Nebraska, and has a rich tradition in water and real estate law. And so welcome back.
Thank you. So I'm happy to be here. I got my start at a boutique law firm that focused on public power and water. And my primary areas where I practice law are energy and natural resources, alcohol, of course, and I'm a registered lobbyist for a wide range of issues. But I want to highlight that David Levy and his history with the state of Nebraska and renewable energy is a reason why I came to Baird Home.
Yeah.
It really is.
Very kind, thank you.
It's a big deal. So I had the great opportunity to work for the boutique law firm that I did. I worked on U.S. Supreme Court litigation, and I confirmed for myself that Nebraska utilizes its water resources better than any other state in the nation.
Yep.
And we have a number of challenges ahead of us and a number of great examples of communities like Mayor Moning's community who have taken advantage of our wind resources, and other communities that are taking advantage of our solar resources. And I believe that that water background is something that pushes me as a lobbyist and as an attorney to know that this is local control. It is for the best for our tax base and for landowners within Nebraska, same way that irrigated agriculture is.
It's
So.
fascinating, and so it's so good to have you back on the show, and it seems only fitting that after introducing you, because I'm thirsty, everybody else is poured their beers.
We may have jumped the gun.
I'm
a little
way
bit.
That's
ahead
all
of you.
right.
I was
because-
just following.
Yeah, no.
because this is pints and politics, and so we do enjoy craft beer. So we are drinking Nebraska Brewing Company beers, and so we can. I am pouring a Cardinal Pale Ale,
the same.
one of their flagship beers. And Vanessa, you were commenting on how this is an award-winning.
Yes.
Where am I at, producer Steve? Can I do this or this? Over here, Steve says.
Nebraska Brewing Company is one of many great examples in Nebraska of small businesses that have grown. They distribute in over 30 states and multiple countries. They've collaborated with breweries in China and others. So this is one of many examples of Nebraska innovation. So
Paul
it's
and
one of their best
Kim,
beers.
It is. So cheers.
Yes.
Cheers. You know, as we're cheers.
David from afar.
Yes. With Vanessa's expertise in water and beer, and our firm's expertise in energy, I like to say we really kind of have it covered, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Everybody gets
Electricity.
down.
What else do you
Yes.
need?
We're good,
What
yeah.
else do you need?
And you guys are drinking the
The
brunette-
Nut Brown,
Nut
yeah.
Brown
Mhm.
ale.
Which you can find almost anywhere in Nebraska, it seems.
Yes.
I know in Norfolk there's a number of
Costco
bars
and
that have it on tap.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I have family down in southern Texas, and they've been down there a few years. And I walked into a pub in Corpus Christi, and it's like, oh, they have Nebraska Brewing. In fact, it was a pale ale. It was a Cardinal Pale Ale. It's like, oh, I'll have that.
And along those lines, I did just want to say, because I don't want to forget and get in trouble with the mayor here, but the city of Norfolk is a longtime fantastic client of our firm's as well. And we so appreciate that. And it's a really fun client to work for. We help them with their tax increment financing and kind of similar development incentives. And they're doing so much. And to see a smaller, non-metropolitan Lincoln or Omaha town in Nebraska being so progressive and aggressive and forward-thinking and open-minded, and especially under Josh's leadership, it's really fun to be a part of those projects. So we appreciate that.
Well, cool. You guys chat about
and
that.
we've been
Talk
able,
about that.
yeah, we've been able to work together for a number of years now, and without the resource expertise of people like David and Baird Home, it would be hard for some of our communities to get off the ground with some of these development projects. And so we've been fairly aggressive in our use of TIF because we've had to be in the last few years, and it's made quite the difference in our community. I mean, we're sitting at right now 350 new housing units under construction across probably a half dozen different projects with hundreds more units planned in future phases. And so that's a huge boost in a community our size. And it's really because we've been willing to embrace the incentive tools available to us and do a little bit more. I mean, Norfolk, I've always said, has had to do things a little bit differently. We're off the beaten path. We're not on an interstate. We're not terribly proximate to a metro area. So we've always had to act a little bit differently and do things a little bit more creatively, and we're just continuing that tradition today.
So what are some of the projects, or maybe one or two projects, that you're most proud of that you've been able to help stimulate in the past 4 years?
Yeah, well, I mentioned the Riverfront project. That one's probably number one because I recognize the potential, and as Vanessa was saying, water is such a resource for the state, and primarily we've used that for irrigation purposes, right? But we have more river miles in the state than any other in the country.
That's
And-
amazing
Yeah,
statistic.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are the
Say that
we are
again.
the Minnesota of rivers,
Yeah.
and,
Yes.
we
We have-
should be saying this
Yes.
all over
We
the
have
place.
more, say that again.
More river
because
miles than any other state in the country.
Yeah.
It's like any community developer's dream. And so it's like we have this, let's make it a resource, an asset. And I call it the Sioux Falls model. If you're familiar with Sioux Falls,
Right.
Falls Park, the Falls River,
Oh my
yeah.
goodness.
The same thing in the
And
mid-90s.
all
That
of
was
the
a
restaurants that have popped up in all of the developments.
and
yeah.
the mid-90s, that was an overgrown, neglected mess until community leadership came together. City leadership, business community said, look, we have something here. Let's clean it up. Let's fix it up. They did, and look what's happened.
So
to
where are
Sioux
you
Falls.
at with your project?
So this project's been all about forming partnerships and planning prudently for paying for it. And so when I got into office, we went to our local natural resources district,
Yep.
the Lower Elkhorn, and said, look, this is a project that's been on your radar screen for 40 years. You didn't have city partnership at the time when you wanted to do it, but that's all changed. We want to make this
And Mike
project
Sochek
go.
said, yes,
Yeah,
let's do
Mike
it.
Sochek, I give him a lot of credit. The
Yep.
guy's a visionary. He's doing a lot of good things for the NRD up there, and we're working in partnership on this. So they said we'll give more than $1 million to the construction of this. We've sought state grants. We were just awarded a state CFF grant of $1.25 million, another tourism grant that just came in. In the meantime, we've been planning for it through our city capital improvement program and through the Parks Fund, Keno dollars that we use. The goal, the crux of this is removing the spillway, which is in the middle of the
Oh,
North Fork, in the middle of
ugly.
town.
Not safe for anyone to go over.
Right. The
Yeah.
remnant of the original dam structure, 13-foot drop, not safe to navigate, the obstacle for people actually using this river. And in its place, replacing it with 8 different drop structures that covers 1,500 feet. Essentially creates a whitewater park in the middle of Norfolk. And
That's
so
really cool.
you put in north of Norfolk, 3-hour float with a whitewater park in the middle. And we think it's got a lot of community development potential. We're already seeing new investment coming in downtown based on these public improvement plans,
So
which is the model that was taken here in Lincoln with the Haymarket too,
Exactly.
right? You put in a
And
big
it
public
took-
improvement, and you see the catalyst that
Yeah.
that serves as for private redevelopment.
And if I may, you're not my client for your reelection, because you don't need a PR guy, because you have no opposition. But if I were, I would compare that project that you just mentioned with the leadership of Chris Beitler here in Lincoln. He had the vision to make sure that this area that was, a rail yard and, industrial, is now this, of course, COVID is wreaking havoc on our Haymarket area, but Pinnacle Bank Arena, and Mayor Beitler, like you, had that vision to be able to build that, and get public sentiment and the business community and the chamber and everybody around that, and so, but it takes leadership, and it just doesn't happen, and so I can see this synergy. It's really cool to see between water and energy in this community that you're leading. To do that.
And as a segue into that, drawing comparisons, returning people to their natural resources. This is simply
That's so cool.
reconnecting people to the water that gave our community birth. And it's as simple as that, really. It's reconnecting the North Fork Riverfront to the park that was established to feature it as a people attraction years and years ago. And so we're not inventing something new.
But it
we're
takes
going
vision
back.
and leadership to make that happen.
Yeah, well, yeah. And the other part of this is where we are in Northeast Nebraska. Wind resources, solar resources, the sky's the limit. Northeast Nebraska, if you look at maps of renewable energy development, is the hotbed. And I would love for Norfolk to be known as the capital of renewable energy in the state.
And you're working on that.
We're absolutely working all day, every day and night.
We have a whole team of people.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think what Josh said brings up two things. They always tell you in law school, don't say how many points you're going to make unless you're sure you can remember them all. So I only went with two. I think I can do it. But one is, we have a long tradition in this state of taking the natural resources we have and turning them into commodities and things that give us quality of life and things that give us economic growth and income, and we export those commodities. You think about corn and soybeans. Renewable energy is the same thing. The river in Norfolk is the same thing. You have that natural resource. It's using that natural resource to create that community development. And then the second thing, when I listen to the mayor talk about this, and when you talk about Northeast Nebraska with renewable energy, and as an old city planner, as a city planner, you want to tell everybody exactly what to do, exactly how tall the building should be.
I can't imagine that, David.
I would never.
Central
Never.
Right.
Never.
But over my years, as I've mellowed, they all laugh. I've come to realize, though, that the first and foremost part of that is creating the conditions to let people invest and encourage people to invest and let the market take it
Right.
and run with it.
Right.
You talk about the Haymarket. I think there's a lot of that here, right? Those big public things like Pinnacle Bank Arena, that the public has to do that. But then you create the conditions for
Right.
the private market to come and do that. That's what you're talking about with the riverfront. That's what's happened in Northeast Nebraska, where, there's zoning regulations and there are permitting requirements and lots of those things for renewable energy. But you also have communities who have said, come and work with us and bring these and we'll work together. And tax increment financing, same thing. They all are truly public-private partnerships. And that's really what you have to have, I think, to succeed. That's what you're doing in the city of Norfolk. That's what we're talking about with renewable energy. I would say even in kind of the craft beer space, the state has regulated it, but largely gotten out of the way, and the private market has gone crazy.
Alcohol is very highly regulated, one of the toughest products to produce, and to jump through it as a brand new small business owner is something that I help our clients navigate on a regular basis. And one thing that I've seen in recent years is the commitment by Nebraskans, particularly senators who voted for smart legislation, to make sure that these businesses could grow here and take advantage of resources here and bring people to communities throughout the state of Nebraska. You have Divots Brewery, for example, that's expanding in their current location, and they've taken on a new space in downtown Norfolk that's going to take a little bit longer to get through, but they've made that commitment to your community. And that's part of that value add to the public-private partnership of things like your riverfront project. As a mother, I have a child who's starting his senior year. We're navigating COVID in college.
Wow.
But I can tell you that as a nerd water lawyer, I have taken him to every river basin in the state of Nebraska.
That is so cool.
He has heard and seen everything that I've ever been involved in. And it really makes me happy to know that throughout the community, throughout Nebraska, we have people who are committed to making sure that our own kids understand why this is such a big deal. Irrigated ag is the backbone, but we have more to give and more to grow. So.
That is the tie-in between the community, local community resources and small business like craft beer, and then this opportunity to export clean energy. It's fascinating, David. I mean, what you've done in just a short time, and I'm fascinated, and I've partnered with you on some of these projects, but Nebraska is so unique being, because of George Norris, the only 100% public power state in America. Those are some unique challenges, right? And how does that happen? How does that work?
You know, it's interesting, and I honestly, I sort of set up a little bit at the question because it's the first thing people say, and I'm kind of like, oh man, let's move way beyond that. But you're right, that's
Because
where,
you have.
and we have, but
Yeah.
that's where we started from,
Yeah.
and you know, sometimes I get accused by certain people of being against public power because I'm so avidly for renewable energy personally and for our clients. Those two things absolutely do and can coexist. Renewable energy, you know, I likened it a few years ago in a committee hearing on the spot. Somebody said, is it a mature industry? And I said, it's like that 18 to 21-year-old kid that you're trying to get to move on and go out of the house. You know, they're doing great and you love to watch them, but they need a little help along the way. And it has benefited from, like every other industry, including fossil fuels and agriculture, from tax subsidies and things like that. And because our utilities are political subdivisions that are not subject to federal income tax, they couldn't use those things directly. So again, it comes back to that public-private partnership where the private company comes in and says, we'll take all the risk. We'll do a lot of the work in partnership with you because you know your transmission system best. You know the area very well. We can take advantage of the tax credits and pass those through to you and develop this great resource for everybody. And I think one of my favorite moments in a legislative committee hearing, and there are favorite moments in those, was explaining that. And you know, the senator said, well, what about these subsidies? I mean, these just go in the pockets of those rich wind developers. But they don't, because our utilities are run by very smart people. And if they're buying the power, or whoever is buying the power, they know that the utility is getting that benefit from the federal government, and they know exactly how much it is. And so they pay them essentially that much less for the power.
Right.
And in Nebraska, where all of these are public entities, they're not profit motivated, shareholder motivated, the benefit of that 2.3 cents per kilowatt hour comes right to our pocket when you flip the light switch.
So what is the opportunity for Nebraska to continue to grow with clean energy? I mean, if we were at 0 10 years ago, where are we at now?
That's a good question. I want to say a really low number because I do.
Out of room to go.
You know,
I want to say a middle high number. So I'll say one
Yeah.
thing and then you
Yeah.
can fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
So 10 years ago, I was starting out my career as a brand new attorney. Like David, I had a career before I went to law school, and I worked for this boutique law firm that represented a lot of public power districts. And I can tell you from going to those meetings that it was a novelty for them to entertain a developer for a renewable energy project. And today, it's an actual decision item for most of them. They realize that opportunity for their ratepayers, and in 10 years, they have advanced further than the low number maybe you would hedge on. I would give them.
I think we're going.
I would give them like a 7 out of 10. We've still got a lot of ground to cover, but I can tell you that public power districts are locally accountable, they're locally elected, they're locally controlled,
Absolutely.
which we love here in Nebraska. And we've heard loud and clear from so many communities that 10 years ago would have kind of giggled at a renewable energy developer presentation to now they see that political accountability that they have to listen, and they do.
And that's going to change. And I don't think you can really even quantify it because, you know, you go from what we were doing in 2008, which is a big giant wind farm out in the countryside.
Yep.
Now you go what Mayor Moaning and Norfolk are looking at, which is a solar facility in town with battery storage. I mean, and that's what's really so much fun about solar and battery and the way the industry's evolved. We could bore your listeners to death for however many episodes you have left with the business models of solar and battery, right? We could come up with as many forever. And that's what's really exciting. I mean, I don't think you can really quantify the opportunity that's out there.
And we don't want regulations in the middle of it. That's one of the things we did with craft beer. It's something that we need to continue to do at the state level for energy regulation to make sure. We have homegrown companies that develop and that construct. Interconnection Systems Inc. is a great example of a locally developed company that provides employees to states all over the country. They're based here in Nebraska. They're investing here, and they've been a partner on a number of projects throughout the state.
And you know, Interconnection Systems, it's interesting you bring them up. Great company, local Nebraska company, now working with a big Nebraska manufacturer that manufactures a totally different non-energy related component and sells them worldwide, but is interested in solar energy and building a solar energy at their manufacturing facility in Nebraska. And the company that's actually building that facility for them is another Nebraska company. So it's,
Yeah.
you know, economic development. It's the multiplier effect
Yeah,
that you know
right.
so well.
Yep.
And the interesting thing to me, you asked the question about where we are in clean energy. I think an opportunity here, and you're seeing the demand for clean energy in Nebraska being driven by the marketplace.
Exactly.
It's Fortune 500
And
companies
again, 10
that
years ago,
every day
Yeah.
are making 100% renewable commitments. Nobody wants to buy fossil fuel energy. They want to buy clean energy, and we have it in abundance, so let's provide it to them.
Well,
and
and-
we're in a position, if our public utilities understand the potential in that, to arrange those agreements to make that happen. And we're seeing the benefit of it in Northeast Nebraska through Facebook's investment in, in a Dixon County wind farm, now in Wayne County. You've got Vail Resorts and other companies like Hormel Foods and Avery Dennison and Adobe that are all investing in Nebraska.
Well,
wind.
And Smuckers is my
Smuckers,
favorite.
yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's not just Facebook and Google.
Right,
and
right.
Adobe, it's
Smuckers.
Smuckers,
Yeah,
and
Smuckers are
Hormel.
home
the jelly
Yeah.
people?
That's right, James
And this
Delis.
isn't a new concept.
Yeah.
Central Nebraska Public Power and Irrigation District's hydro plant offloads most of its energy as an off-taker in Kansas. This is not a new concept for Nebraska at all, and it's one that our own public power districts have utilized in the past.
I get that question. So where's the energy going? We're not even keeping it here. Well, are you keeping all your corn here that you grow?
Yeah.
Is that-
And actually, energy flows like water. It's going to go to the closest place it's needed. But no, yeah, export it. That's how we grow our economy.
Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, David. This has been a fascinating conversation. I want to thank our sponsors, Bayard Home, LLC. Thank you so much. Kathy Plunkett Photography. You'll see her work. Kim Remington, the operations manager for Parsons Public Relations. Pints and Politics theme music that you may be hearing about right now is written and performed by Jack Rodenberg. You probably know the Rodenbergs. And thanks to Fuse Co-working for this wonderful space and Parsons Public Relations. And thank you once again to our guests, Mayor Josh Moning, David Levy, Vanessa Silk. Thank you so much. And I'm out of beer, but we'll cheers.
Thank you for having us, and thank you, Nebraska Brewing Company.
Does
We
this
drank
mean
your
this-
beer.
Does this mean this is over? I thought we were just starting.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Cheers from afar. Yes.
Okay.